This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Between two-factor authentication, strong passwords, and a VPN, you try to be in control of how your info is protected. But many other places also have it, and they might not be as careful. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast for 40% off. Terms apply.
Parents of tweens, if you're familiar with far-off drop-offs...
Dad, stop, right here.
Or get DMs about what's for dinner, you may be experiencing tween milestones. For your son or daughter, these can start at age 9. HPV vaccination, a type of cancer prevention against certain HPV-related cancers, can start then too.
For most, HPV clears on its own. But for those who don't clear the virus, it can cause certain cancers later in life.
Embrace this phase. Help protect them in the next.
Ask their doctor today about HPV vaccination. Brought to you by Merck.
Juliet and Romeo are joining a shadow force, and we're using protein to train our dragon. I'm Van Connor.
And I'm Adam Ball, and this is Off Screen, your 7-day guide to everything movies.
Boom. Groovy.
So, hello and welcome back to Off Screen for another week. And another week brings more movies. We have got loads to talk about today. We're going to look at Shadow Force. We're going to look at Protein, How to Train Your Dragon, and Juliet and Romeo. I nearly said Romeo and Juliet.
Of course,
and I mean, you want to say it
naturally.
You do. Yeah, you naturally want to say it that way around. But no, it's Juliet and Romeo.
Juliet and Romeo, yes.
Yeah, so we'll see what Van thought about that in a minute. But as always, we're going to start with the box office top 10. I actually haven't looked at this yet until now, so I don't really know if there are any surprises.
Actually, there is a surprise, because I really didn't expect number 8 to be in here, but that's the first one I've seen off this list. So, number 10, Thug Life. No idea what that is. Distributed by DJ Tech Limited. So, I mean, we can hazard a guess on that, but I haven't seen it around. And I presume a limited release, about maybe an event cinema type thing. Number 9, 3 weeks on release, Wes Anderson's latest, The Phoenician Scheme. It's made £2.5 million. Again, that's about right for a Wes Anderson movie. I don't see this doing massively. It'll get seen by the dozen or so hipsters who actually bother to go out to the cinema to see this director that they claim they worship. And then we'll never hear about it ever again, and we can always go back to debating whether or not Fantastic Mr. Fox or Grand Budapest Hotel are his best films, which is a completely nonsensical argument anyway, because everyone knows it's Grand Budapest or Rushmore, one or the other. Right, number 8. This was a surprise to me. Okay, so this came out last week. We reviewed this. In its opening weekend, it took $350,000, which is, I would argue, pretty good for the film it was. It was Clown in a Cornfield. Remember that? Baby's first slasher movie, I think we called it.
Yeah, I mean, shocking, really, that it's taken $350,000 in its first week.
Never underestimate the horror buck, man. It gets you far. Number 7, speaking of Baby's first slasher movie, now Baby's first movie, I think. Number 7, Pepper Meets the Baby Cinema Experience. Been out for 2 weeks, made just under £2 million. And okay, I can see the appeal of this. Obviously, it's I would imagine the cinema is just filled with like young mums or mums and their young children, like with their infants, kind of thing. I imagine it's kind of like that. Number 6.
I was going to say, is that off the back of the announcement that Pepper's going to be have a new baby brother or sister?
I have no idea. That is news to me. Thank you, because obviously I am somewhat insulated from the world of children's entertainment generally.
Be thankful.
I say that, bearing in mind that I spent last Sunday morning at How to Train Your Dragon, and I'm spending this Sunday afternoon at Elio, I think. So I'm doing loads of kids' movies lately. It seems like the kids' movie is back, so to speak.
Yeah.
Number 6, though, is definitely not one for kids. 5 weeks on release. It is Final Destination Bloodlines, which I loved. Can't wait to see this again. Made £10.5 million so far. Last weekend, it made $620,000, which is a pretty good 5 weeks in on a Final Destination movie, because all the fans kind of saw it the opening weekend and maybe the one after that. So it's not really a repeat business thing, the Final Destination brand. Number 5, though, Karate Kid Legends. Out for 2 weeks now, £4.2 million total, and this past weekend took just over $1 million. You're still hyped for this, haven't you? You haven't seen this one.
Haven't seen it yet. It is on my list. Yeah. I am going to watch.
I will bet.
You know, we had this discussion.
Yeah. I will bet it is, definitely. And I bet when you actually do finally get to watch it, and I know it'll be at home for you, I can anticipate now the WhatsApp messages I'm in for afterwards.
You know it.
I know it. Number 4, a heartbreaking true story that Black Bear put out 2 weeks ago, The Salt Path. Gillian Anderson and Jason Isaacs. I really loved this film. And I'm glad that it is making the money it has. It's made just under £4.5 million so far, 2 weeks on release. There's a lot of fans of that book, that memoir by Raina Wynn, and so she's played for the screen by Gillian Anderson. Both terrific performances from Anderson and Isaac, so worth seeing. Number 3, in its first week out, it has made nearly £1.5 million. And yeah, okay, that seems right. Entering the chart, number 3 also seems kind of right to me. It is Ballerina, or giving it its full title, From the World of John Wick, Space Ballerina. Because we don't give audiences any credit anymore at all, which was fine. I mean, it was like a direct-to-DVD actioner from the 2000s, but, with 87 North choreography and set pieces, which, elevated it slightly above. But way too much Keanu for my money, and not enough character for the ballerina herself, Ana de Armas. Although it is nice.
It ticked the boxes.
Although it has been nice to be reminded of the movie Knock Knock, which I'm going to revisit now as a result of this movie. Have you ever seen Knock Knock? No, right. Okay, so this is this is every man's worst nightmare movie, right? Okay, so Keanu Reeves is like a dad who's home, and he's like an architect or something. He's in his nice home. His family have gone away for the weekend and left him on his own. And in the pouring rain, there's a knock at his door, and it's 2 like gorgeous college age girls. They're played by Ana de Armas and Lorenza Iso, and they need help. Like they need to phone someone or find like their way home, etc. Can we come in and get out the rain? And him being a nice guy lets them in. They proceed to drug him, tie him up, and let's just say erotically torment him. Let's just say that. Don't watch it with Bex would be my honest suggestion. Watch it alone. Watch it alone, because I don't think she'd appreciate the terror that you'll be feeling through that movie. It's not a date movie. It's a date movie that would have ended a lot of relationships, I can imagine. Number 2, also not a date movie, but just damn good time at the movies, Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. £21.5 million so far. I would imagine this is kind of fizzling out now. The fuse has fizzled slightly on this. So it's been a month. I think I'll be gone from the multiplex in about 2 weeks' time. And then we'll start the ball rolling. Because I think it's, strictly speaking, it's 12 weeks that... it's 6 months that Tom Cruise has in his contract. 6 months for digital. That's the rule.
Oh, I was going to say, for the people who want to see it in the cinema, after 4, 5, 6 weeks, they've seen it. You know what I mean?
They have.
It's going to be empty cinema seats, isn't it, after that?
And it's lost IMAX now. You know what I mean? Like, it had its limited run on IMAX, but the summer is here, and Fantastic Four's going to take it. Superman's going to take it. I'm not sure if 28 years later, he's going to do that. I'm seeing that next week as well, apparently. But how quiet is that, by the way? They've managed to keep the existence of that movie relatively silent. One that hasn't been silent, though, and has made 31 million plus, just over 31 million pounds so far. 4 weeks on release, opened the same day as Mission Impossible, is 10 million quid ahead in this country alone. It's Lilo and Stitch. People love Lilo and Stitch, man. I get it. I do get it. Having seen the animated original for the first time recently, I understand. But it's just obscene money for this thing. But
also, parents will pay for their children to go and see such films, and that's where it grows a bigger audience, I think. It
is, because we undervalue the family experience of going to the movies nowadays. And it's obviously a very treasured memory to you and I from our childhoods. Kind of you went to you would go to the pictures with all your cousins and your siblings and some auntie and uncle. It's how it works. It's part of the experience. And I would imagine Lilo and Stitch is benefiting hugely from that now. But so there go the top 10 for us.
There be the top 10, which means it's now time for us to dive in to our first movie of the show, the greatest love story of all time, set as an original pop musical. I'm not reading that from IMDb am I? It is, of course, Juliet and Romeo. Van has seen it. Where do you want to start?
It literally is what you've just said. So it is the story of Romeo and Juliet, like untouched. That's the story. There is a touch, like let's just say a Tarantino-like touch towards the end, in which which we just alter the ending of the story. But it is the story of, Romeo meeting Juliet and Juliet meeting Romeo, but it's all done as a pop musical. Now, I'm a very big fan of the stage show And Juliet, which is a sequel to Romeo and Juliet that is also a musical and uses the songs of late 90s and early 2000s boy bands and girl bands. So there's Britney songs and Backstreet Boys songs. This is not an adaptation of that. That, as far as I know, is happening as a movie, separate from this. So this is original music as its pop music basis for a retelling of Romeo and Juliet, brought to the screen by Timothy Scott Bogart, and with Clara Rugard and Jamie Ward playing Juliet and Romeo, respectively. I've got a clip for you. This is Jason Isaacs, would you believe, as Lord Montague, discussing his family loyalty ahead of the possible takeover of Verona by Rome. Have a listen.
The prince who speaks his truth. And let me mirror it with my own, should Rome truly cast her eyes on us to join her fight against Pope Boniface. You'd be well served to have a loyal representative here.
And you'd be our loyal law of Verona.
That I would. Our Lord Capulet is off manoeuvring, manipulating, plotting.
With Lord Paris?
As you certainly well knew, Lord Bernardo. If Rome's to win this war, it needs faithful warriors, not diplomats.
I didn't know it was set up in Yorkshire.
I don't know for the life of me why Jason Isaacs, because don't get me wrong, he's pulling that accent off and he's great in this movie, but I don't know for the life of me how Jason Isaacs made that decision. Like, what about... There's no other Yorkshire characters in the movie. He just decided to do this. You're like, do you know what? Jason, fair enough. Like, you've earned this one, pal, and you're good at it. Fair enough. I will say, Clara Rugard and Jamie Ward as Romeo and Juliet, very good. The performances all across the board are very, very good. There's two things that let this movie down. First of all, the musical element, which is garbage, and it brings the entire thing to a screeching halt every time they stop and go into song. And for about the first third of the movie, they will do it every 5 minutes. Every 5 minutes contains a song, and then it becomes a bit more sporadic. The second thing I absolutely hated about this movie, is, what's her name? Rebel Wilson. Rebel Wilson.
I knew it.
Rebel Wilson as Juliet's mum. And I have to say, I've seen some things doing this job. Right, over the last 14 years, I have reviewed thousands, literally thousands of movies. I've seen some insane things. I really have. But seeing Rebel Wilson, as she is today, performing the dialogue of William Shakespeare, is an experience I can compare only to... Imagine watching Alan Carr starring in a stage adaptation of Glengarry Glen Ross, doing the Always Be closing monologue, and how absolutely ludicrous that would seem, and how in the moment you'd be watching it and you'd be thinking, what happened to human civilization? Did we peak with the printing press? Has it all been downhill from there? Is it time to just let us all die off and let the ants have a turn? Like, I had that feeling every single time Rebel Wilson was flapping her lips in this. It's one of the most unbearable performances I've seen in a film in a long, long time. This is like Jack O'Connell in any movie. Bad. Any movie that isn't Sinners. Bad. It's truly terrible. The rest of the movie, though, is really good, and I actually really enjoyed the straight telling of Romeo and Juliet in this form, with this cinematography, with this direction, with this production by terrific. But then they ruin it by stopping to do musical numbers and allowing Rebel Wilson to speak. So, those two things torpedo what otherwise is actually a pretty good adaptation of Romeo and Juliet. I'm not going to lie. I got in touch with an English teacher ex-girlfriend of mine who's made me watch so many of these over the years I've known her. And I've seen every stage play, every musical, every version of Romeo and Juliet I have seen. And I literally got in touch and went, okay, this one, ignore the musical bits, and the rest is really good. So take that bit of approval for it. Mostly good, but let down by the musical numbers and the existence of Rebel Wilson.
Well, if you think you can tolerate Rebel Wilson and you want to go and see it, you can go and see Juliet and Romeo in cinemas.
Oh, my lord. She sounds like Baldrick. I'm not even kidding. She sounds like Baldrick. Do you remember how we all took the mick out of Keanu for starring in Much Ado About Nothing? and how he was the worst actor ever to attempt to do Shakespeare. No, step aside, Keanu. You are forgiven, sir. We have a new champ in town.
And you can go and see it in cinemas from today. Right, still to come then, we're going to look at Protein and movies on Freeview this week shortly. But next, How to Train Your Dragon. We'll see what Van thought in a sec.
Lights, camera, innovation. Walt Disney Studios chose advanced 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business to transform the movie-making process. Together, we kept a remote production hub in Hawaii in sync with a team in California to bring Lilo and Stitch to theaters this summer. This is picture-perfect collaboration. This is Walt Disney Studios with T-Mobile for Business. Take your business further at T-Mobile.com/now.
Home means something different to everyone. But with Rocket Mortgage, home can mean even more. It can mean a college education, taming your high-interest debt, even a renovation. We've made it easier than ever to use your home equity. That home you worked so hard for, now it can work hard for you. Call 800-4ROCKET or visit rocket.com to find out more.
Rocket Mortgage, LLC. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Number 3030.
Hello and welcome back to Off Screen then. We've still got Shadow Force, Protein and movies on Freeview this week to look at on today's show. But we're going to dive into our next movie that is out in cinemas from today, How to Train Your Dragon. Sword and sorcery this comes under, obviously. I mean, I do kind of know a little bit about this, but I've not seen How to Train.
You must have seen How to Train Your Dragon.
No.
Surely.
Nope, believe it or not.
How do you have a 6-year-old son you've never seen How to Train Your Dragon? I'm actually gobsmacked about it. I thought it was like a required thing once they hit 5. They just really get into How to Train Your Dragon. Do show your son the animated How to Train Your Dragon trilogy, by all means. Like, absolutely do. Because they're very good movies. I'm not as attached to them as a lot of people would, because this is like a 16-year-old brand. We've got, this thing is like a sacred text to Gen Z, obviously, because it's kind of been there their whole lives. And it's, I would say, arguably the second most recognized DreamWorks brand after Shrek. I would say. It kind of goes Shrek and then How to Train Your Dragon. Like, they are that close. The timing of this live-action adaptation, by the way, which, let us not forget, has to have, CG dragons, because, can't exactly fake a real dragon. This comes 16 years after the first animated movie. 16, maybe even 15 years after the first animated movie, and has been timed to capitalize on the upcoming launch of, I think it's called Epic Universe, at Universal Studios, in which they are literally building How to Train Your Dragon, or they've built it and it's opening soon, or it's opened recently, something like that. This has been timed specifically to sell theme park real estate.
Right. Now it all makes sense.
As if that isn't creatively bankrupt enough, this is almost a shot-for-shot remake and features Gerard Butler, of all people, reprising the role that he had in the animated one in live action. So he's literally repeating his lines, but now he's doing it in live action as opposed to doing it in animation. So if you're not familiar with the plot of How to Train Your Dragon, it takes place in what is effectively a sort of Viking kingdom known as Berk, B-E-R-K, Berk. And they live a life, in this kingdom in which they're mortally at war with dragons. Dragons just will descend upon them and destroy the village at a moment's notice. And they get used to living a life where this happens, and they just rebuild it. And they sort of have no object permanence as a result of this. The ruler is Gerard Butler's character, whose name escapes me. I'm going to have to look this up now. Stoic, that's his name. Stoic the Brave, I think, is his name. Who's Gerard Butler, who's the manliest man. Of course, he's a Viking. Of course, he's the manliest man who ever ruled. He's a Viking. Yeah. But his son is a bit of a dork. He's a bit more of a science type, bit of a weedy brain type. In animated form, he was voiced by Jay Baruchel, which might be the greatest voice casting ever in animation, in my opinion. He's perfect at it. For live action, he's played by Mason Tame from The Black Phone, one of the child actors from The Black Phone. And he wants nothing more than to fight dragons, but because of his physical limitations, he's held back from this. His dad always holds him back. And right about the point that his dad changes his mind on this and thinks, do you know what, maybe it'd be good for him. get him out of his shell, get him in the dragon training program. He can be one of our dragon warriors, stop the dragons. Right as he makes that decision, his son, Hiccup, happens to meet
Sorry, his son's called Hiccup.
His son is called Hiccup, wait for it, who happens to meet... I can't believe you've never seen these movies. I genuinely... Anyway, Hiccup happens to meet, at this exact point, a wounded Night Fury dragon, meant to be the baddest of the bad dragons. A dragon who's wounded in such a way that he has a physical limitation and can't be a full dragon.
Right.
And Hiccup uses his brain power and his intellect to build a sort of prosthesis so that the dragon's wounded fin can be replaced and he can fly properly. And the two bond. This dragon, by the way, is named Toothless. The pair bond, and Hiccup becomes Toothless's rider, for lack of it. He becomes the first ever dragon rider. And of course, as he's learning more about dragons through this relationship, he's also going through the dragon training program, and, well, he happens to be very good at it. Meanwhile, his dad is leading a quest to seek out and destroy the dragons once and for all. So this relationship might have to be kept on the down low. Anyway, this is father and son having a bit of a misunderstanding early on in this matter.
I've decided I don't want to fight dragons. What?
No, you go first.
No, you go first.
You get your wish. Dragon training. Start in the morning.
Oh man, I really should have gone first. Because I was thinking, we have a surplus of dragon fighting Vikings, but do we have enough bread making Vikings?
You don't need this?
Dad, I don't want to fight dragons.
Come on. Yes, you do.
No, let me rephrase it. I can't kill dragons.
But you will.
No, I'm very extra sure that I won't.
It's time, Hiccup.
See, the premise of this, I've just been trying to Google, but I've not got the answer. The premise of this reminds me of a bit of, what was that Sigourney Weaver movie where she puts the head thing on, goes into another world?
Avatar?
Don't they have to train a dragon in Avatar?
Yeah, there is a dragon training kind of element in Avatar.
That's what my head went to.
Yeah, but they just dock with the biological USB ports.
That's
and
it.
They kind of take control of them, don't they? Yeah, I don't want to get into the mechanics of how that works and the sexuality of James Cameron's very weird Avatar universe. But that's a conversation. We will have that conversation near Christmas when the third one opens.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, when Avatar 3, The Fire one, opens in December, we'll talk more about that. This is very good. But it's very good in the exact way that the original was very good, because there's no difference between them. There's literally no difference. It is a shot-for-shot remake. It is a line-for-line remake. I don't remember the first one vividly. I don't have my usual level of memory for it, but I remember enough. And nothing about this stuck out as being, oh, that's new. No, not at all. Because you're watching a film that relies so much on CG dragons and CG backgrounds, things like that, you kind of feel like at times like the only live action thing in the frame is the actor. You know what I mean? You're like, this feels so weird. Like, it's the most transparent cash-in you've ever seen. But then again, this is only fitting into the older Disney model of re-releasing the movies every 7 years or so. This is the new answer to that, obviously. It's a way to keep the money pipe flowing. I didn't dislike it in any way. Of the human cast, I think the people who come off the best are undoubtedly Gerard Butler and Nick Frost. So you've got Gerard Butler obviously playing Stoic, the brave, and Nick Frost's name is, he's Gobber. He's the sort of blacksmith inventor type.
Brilliant.
And normally I always find Nick Frost doubly amusing, because in the movie Fighting With My Family, he appears to be modelled physically on you. So there's that. It's like he's doing Adam Ball cosplay. It's the weirdest thing in that movie. Spoiler, if anyone's never seen Fighting With My Family, which is great, you absolutely should. But whilst you're watching it, which you, again, should, it's great, do know that that's exactly what Adam looks like. You've never physically seen Adam. It's like Nick Frost is in the costume with the glasses and the mohawk and everything. He's got the look. But I say, those two, fantastic. Nico Parker, who is Thandie Newton's daughter. You may remember from the live-action Dumbo as well. She's quite good as the sort of love interest, whose name escapes me. And Mason Tame, he's perfectly fine in the lead, but he's no Jay Baruchel. Like, he's doing a good job at the whininess, but he doesn't have the sort of likability and charm that Jay Baruchel had. That being said, Toothless the dragon is cute as hell in animation, and because this is still animation to an extent, he's still cute as hell. So, you know what I mean? This is not a Lilo and Stitch scenario where you can come and say, well, actually, he's kind of cuter in live action. Well, no, because it's the same animation. It was already a CG animated movie to begin with. So, you know what I mean? This is one, I would say, to go and see if you are 30 to 35, say 25 to 35 years old.
Yeah.
And you have a child who is age 5 to 10.
Okay.
This is because you will innately love the first one anyway. So you have a familiarity and a trust in the brand, and you know your kids will love it for the same reason. And for some reason that I cannot fathom, kids seem to be responding these days better to live action than animation, which is my own nephew, for instance, prefers watching the live action versions of like the Disney ones to actually watching the animated original.
I'll tell you what,
strange to me. Go on.
YouTube videos on watching tablets, watching real life stuff that they watch. I think they find it hard to then go back to animation. My son does it. Videos he watches are YouTubers filming themselves playing computer games and just looking at the actual people talking about it. And when you go to a cartoon or an animated film, he's like,
Man, we used to be a society.
I know.
What happened? Anyway, as I say, like you would take Albert to see this, and the pair of you. In fact, do you know what? Actually, this is the full family experience. This is one. Take your partner and the kids and go to the cinema. It's perfect Sunday afternoon, especially if it's going to be the same temperature it is, at the time of recording. Get into that AC.
Yeah.
It's a perfect Sunday family time at the movies. Like a really good one for that. I cannot recommend that highly enough. That being said, all of this comes under the caveat of I'm talking about a 4-star film that has the caveat of yes, but it is identical to another 4-star film. You know what I mean? It's that, and this is not a Sinners to From Dusk Till Dawn translation. It's literally a Xeroxed version of another of its own 4-star original. So, you know what I mean? I can recommend it as much as I can't, but at the same time, you can watch the animated ones at home right now and not have to see it in live action and go out and sit in the cinema. You know what I mean? It's that kind of equation. And if you like the original animated first one, there's 2 more to watch and a bunch of Netflix animated spin-off shows as well. So, you know what I mean? And mark my words, you will take the kids to see this and they will have a grand time. And when you get home, they will immediately put either the sequels or just the full lot on. Like, that will happen.
And then they'll say, "This is boring because it's not got real people in it."
But I think they might want to watch 2 or 3. We are getting live action adaptations of the sequels apparently as well. But I think after watching this first one, if your kids have been exposed for the first time with this one, I think they'll want to know where the story goes. And I will say that number 2 is the best of the trilogy as well. Number 2 made me openly weep when I saw it 11 years ago. So.
Well, if you want to do the same and take the family this weekend, you can, because How to Train Your Dragon is out in cinemas from today. Right, still to come, Shadow Force. We're going to look at Protein, and next, movies on Freeview this week that you can watch at home. We'll see what they are in a moment. Stay there. Hello and welcome back to Off Screen then. We're going to look at the new movie Protein out in cinemas from today in a moment. But first, we're going to dive into movies on Freeview this week. So basically, we do this because these are movies essentially that you can watch at home if you subscribe to some of the streaming platforms or not. You can watch them from the comfort of your own home.
These are the equalizers, aren't they? These are the ones, everyone technically has access to these. So, you know what I mean? You're not going to go without films if the DVD player is broken or the internet's down. You know what I mean? It's that kind of scenario.
Or your VHS is in the loft.
Exactly that. I don't think no. I realised recently that I didn't have a way to watch a DVD in my home anymore. I thought, oh my God, I think I had a disc. How do I watch that? And a friend of mine pointed out, don't you own a PlayStation? I'm like, oh yeah,
yes, that's how I watch DVDs.
That's the only way I can watch a physical disc now is on this PlayStation. What has society come to?
Yeah, but I panicked when I realised I don't have a VHS anymore, and I've got so many of my old time movies recorded on VHS in my loft.
You just get a USB translator thing that scans them.
Yeah, I'll have to do that, including me starring in Grease.
Oh, that I want to see. Tell me you were. Please tell me you were Danny. No?
I wasn't good enough. I was
Kaniki?
Roger.
You were Kaniki, weren't you? Kaniki?
Roger.
Roger. Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Never been a good character named Roger outside of American Dad. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. We have just been talking about Gerard Butler, funnily enough. And tonight on Great Movies, my first pick for the Freeview week is a Gerard Butler movie. It's Den of Thieves. We talked about Den of Thieves 2 recently. We reviewed that, 2 months ago, maybe? Something like that?
Yeah, it probably was.
Pantera.
Yeah.
Well, the first one is on Great Movies tonight, 10:30. If you've never seen this, imagine Bro Heat is the best way I can say it. The movie Heat, but broified with Gerard Butler is the best. And he plays a badass corrupt cop named Big Nick. That's all you need to know. That's
my
all
kind of movie.
Yeah, it's great. Watch this. If you've never seen Den of Thieves, watch them. The Den of Thieves and Den of Thieves 2 are terrific. Saturday night, we're going to be talking about the sequel to this, I think, in a few weeks. And it's Mithrigan, or Megan, as she's actually called. Megan, but written as Mithrigan. And we've got the sequel, Mithrigan 2.0, coming up shortly, which is apparently...
I loved this.
Oh, yeah. This is on Channel 4 Saturday night. Is it 9:35? 9:30? 35, yeah. 9:35. If you missed this one, because it's only about 2 years old. It's good, isn't it? It's a good one, this one. You enjoyed this? Brilliant
movie. I was gripped from the start.
Did she creep you out when she started doing the dance and things?
Yeah, well, hard not to, really. Worth watching.
She's a brilliant horror character. Like, I am shocked actually that she's not more of a cosplay thing yet, but also she's really popular with the LGBT community as well. So I was out of pride recently when my Megan's at, and there was no one there. Oh, man. Like, one day I will see a gay cosplayer as Mithrigan, and that will make my day. Also, great Child's Play moment in which Chucky is watching Megan and actually just starts smack-talking her. It's brilliant. Sunday night, I'm going to the sequel for this next Wednesday. I'm in Leicester Square for a screening of 28 Years Later on Wednesday.
Oh, yes.
And so Sunday night on BBC One at 10:30, ahead of the release next Friday of 28 Years Later, is 28 Days Later, the movie that started it all. And really, I think it still falls under one of the first huge Danny Boyle movies. Because obviously you had Shallow Grave, which was kind of an indie sleeper hit. Trainspotting was the big breakout. Life Less Ordinary did no money whatsoever. And then I forget what sort of comes in the way, but then you get to 28 Days Later, in which he goes digital. And it's a movie that looks like no other. It also kind of brought the idea of fast zombies into the canon. The idea of zombies that could run, which actually finally made zombies terrifying in a way that really they'd never been before. Do you think? Am I wrong here? Or?
No, absolutely, because I think in all other zombie movies previously, you always had that security, didn't you?
Yeah, just walk faster. Just walk faster.
Yeah,
fine.
Just walk faster. Push them over. They'll be fine.
It's like Daleks and staircases. You know what I mean? I'll be fine. Right, Monday night. This one never gets talked about anymore. 2006 Tony Scott movie that this is the third collaboration between him and Denzel Washington. It's Deja Vu. Co-starring the late, great Val Kilmer, it's worth pointing out, in which a team of law enforcement agents have the ability to use a window to look back in time and solve a ferry bombing in New Orleans. It's very good and just gets no love anymore. Tuesday night, usually the death night, Tuesday night, isn't it? We usually have to settle for some crap on Tuesday night. Yeah. But this week, no, they're showing The Greatest Showman. What's not to love? It truly is.
Still haven't seen that.
How have you not seen? I mean, I'm glad that you've finally seen. I know you've finally seen The Raid, so I haven't really got much of a reason to complain anymore about you. But you've got to watch The Greatest Showman. There's a little girl in your household. How have you never seen The Greatest Showman?
She's seen it. So's her mum.
Oh, fair. Yeah, I bet they have. because I know they've got better cinematic standards than you have.
They also have way more time, if I'm honest.
There is that. Yeah, to be young. Right, so The Greatest Showman is on Tuesday night, 7 o'clock on Film 4. Always a great watch, that one. Wednesday night, underrated Bond movie, in my opinion, and the last, in my opinion, bona fide Bond movie. Before Die Another Day kind of just destroyed it all with fan service, and then we sat through 5 boring-ass Daniel Craig superhero movies in which I don't even know what to say about those movies anymore, except that most of them suck. Two of them. One of them was great, one of them was half decent, and 3 sucked, I'll be really honest. But The World Is Not Enough, starring Pierce Brosnan. This is the one in which he goes up against Robert Carlyle, and Robert Carlyle can't feel pain. You remember this one?
Yes.
It's
Yeah,
also one in which they try to actually stick to the Bond formula whilst doing something different with it, and I think it's quite an interesting way of doing it. They actually managed to make it a Bond movie personal to Bond without deviating too much from the formula and giving up on what it is you love about Bond. See also GoldenEye for exactly the same thing. But The World's Not Enough. I really like this movie from 1999. This is the one with the BMW Z8 as the Bond car, if anyone's...
In the multi-story car park, yeah.
No, that was Tomorrow Never Dies. This is where he's on the dock and he fires missiles at the helicopter.
Oh, yes.
This is the one that had Denise Richards as a nuclear physicist named Dr. Christmas Jones, and then features the brilliant payoff line, "I've always wanted to have Christmas in Turkey," followed by, "I thought Christmas only came once a year," which is just wonderful writing that this series lost very quickly afterwards. Last but certainly by no means least, our dumping ground this week comes next Thursday, 9 o'clock on Film 4. Legion with Paul Bettany from, I want to say this is about 2011. This is Terminator with angels. So this time it's going to be, the new Christ being born rather than John Connor, and the forces of heaven are trying to stop this happening. And the angel Michael, played by Paul Bettany, becomes the good Terminator, protecting the pregnant mother, before she can give birth. All sorts of bonkers, this one. I really like this, and I rewatch it every few years. Great supporting cast that includes Dennis Quaid and my boy Tyrese. Worth a watch, this one, definitely, I think. So, what's our first review now? What are we reviewing next?
Right, we're going to dive into Protein now. So, as far as the title goes... I've got to just say, just the weirdest name for it. Like I immediately see Protein and think, oh, this is going to be about bodybuilders.
It is.
Oh,
it is
okay.
About bodybuilders. Specifically, it is about a wanderer who turns up at this local gym and just takes on odd jobs for the gym in exchange for working out there. And whilst he's doing so, he meets some of the locals. It's a British film, by the way. He is played by Craig Russell. And he meets a sort of gang of, let's just say, Weatherspoons types. If I say that, you know what I mean? If I say Weatherspoons
drunk
types,
people?
Drunken, shaven-headed lamps with neck tattoos. If I say that,
right? Okay.
There's not a single one of these guys who could look down and see their own genitals. Am I describing a physical archetype to you?
Okay, I've got a picture you've painted, yeah.
Every single one of these guys owns a St. George flag and an England shirt with their specific name on it. You know what I mean? Like that kind of, those kind of guys. Anyway, runs into these guys in a gym. I apologize to anyone who I've just accidentally described who's listening to this, but to be honest with you, if I've accidentally described you, I would question why you are listening to this show to begin with. But just go on, John. Anyway, meets these guys and kind of gets into it with the leader of this group, who's played by Reese from Torchwood. Is he Kai Owen? Kai Owen. Reese from Torchwood, you and me. Who, when they're alone, he basically he renders unconscious and then cuts it into pieces so that he can eat him one chunk at a time and absorb his protein. Yes, he is a protein-eating vampire serial killer who trolls dingy gyms. But the death of this one guy, this effectively leader type, sends the remaining group into absolute disarray, and they set out to find out just who it is that's offed their boss. So have a listen. This is Protein.
What brings you down this way, then?
I've been away for a while.
Come on, lift it. You're nothing.
Can you not, first bloke I saw you.
Tell me about yourself.
I've got 2 bodies in my file.
Ooh, well, hardly a serial killer.
They butchered him and burned the rest.
Kevin Evans, we need to ask you some questions about Dwayne Roberts.
Do you know, I won't lie, I feel that this is one of those movies where you read the title, you're drawn in, you think, what on earth is that about? You read the synopsis and you think, this could be really good. And then you go to watch it and you go, oh, it's a bit cheesy and a bit low budget.
Actually, I really liked this. I really enjoyed this. This was all sorts of nuts. I did not know where it was going from 1 minute to the next. I went into it based on the concept expecting something closer to Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, or Fresh, or Love Lies Bleeding. Not what I got at all. What I got kind of felt like a Welsh Coen Brothers movie. You can imagine that. It's almost like a Welsh Coen Brothers movie with its sort of dark humor and just this innate sarcasm that lives under the surface, but also a knowing sort of self-awareness of just how grotesque it really is. Great performances all around, particularly Ross O'Hennessy as the sort of second in command of this gang, who just gets so much great material to work with and delivers this really just foaming at the mouth, enjoyable performance. Again, I really enjoyed this, but it's not going to be a multiplex crowd pleaser or anything like that. I would say this is going to be for your slightly older, more deviant horror fans who also like a kind of twisty-turny dramatic thriller as well. Look no further. This is good fun. I highly recommend this.
Well, if you want to see it, you can, because Protein is out in cinemas from today. We have got one movie left to talk about, and then we'll find out what Van's film of the week is. Next, we'll see what he thought to Shadow Force. Stay where you are.
Shopping is hard.
I can never find anything in my size.
I don't even know my size.
I buy my clothes the same place I buy my groceries.
There's a better way. Make it easy with Stitch Fix. Just share your size, style, budget, and done. Your personal stylist sends pieces picked just for you.
That was easy.
Stitch Fix. Online personal styling for everyone. Free shipping and returns. No subscription required. Get started today at stitchfix.com.
Your burger is served, and this is our finest Pepsi Zero Sugar. Its sweet profile perfectly balances the savory notes of your burger.
That is one perfect combination. Burgers deserve Pepsi.
Hello and welcome back for one last ride on Off Screen then. We are going to look at the movie Shadow Force. I won't lie, I've actually been really looking forward to finding out what you thought to this, because reading it and seeing the trailer, I really like the look of this. It's my kind of movie, I think.
I mean, I love the title on its own, because the title does sound like a Chuck Norris movie. It does sound like Delta Force or Steven Seagal in, you know.
Or an old Commodore 64 game.
Exactly that, doesn't it? Yeah, Commodore 64, or even like as recent as a Mega Drive game or something like that. Or definitely an arcade cabinet. I could see a shoot-'em-up called Shadow Force.
Shadow Force.
Anyway, this is co-written and directed by none other than Joe Carnahan. Joe Carnahan of, Knock, The Grey, The A-Team, a bunch of movies that star Frank Grillo for some inexplicable reason. And it stars Omar Sy from Lupin on Netflix and Kerry Washington from basically being Kerry Washington, because I don't know anyone remembers one specific thing for her anymore. She kind of just gets everywhere, Kerry Washington. She's still the lady from Scandal. She's still Olivia Pope to me. I love Scandal. That's my TV trash, and also the horniest thing on television. Wow. They allowed that on regular broadcast television? Jeez. Anyway, enough about the reasons I love everyone who starred in Scandal. Also, amazing soundtrack on. So, they play this estranged couple living very separate lives. Omar Sy is seemingly living like a life undercover, like as if he's in witness protection or something, with his young son. Whilst Kerry Washington is also living a sort of undercover life, but as an assassin. He foils a bank robbery one day with his son present and finds himself captured on CCTV and revealed to the world. It is then that we discover that actually both are on the run from an elite government unit that they were a part of that had two rules. You don't quit and you don't fraternize with your other team members. They did both because not only did they fraternize, they had a kid. So he went into hiding to look after the child, while she, knowing full well that the organization has a policy of when this happens, there is a $25 million bounty on each of them, kill them. Exactly. So she has to, in turn, spend the years that he has been raising the child, taking these guys out, their former team members out, one by one, leaving only two that they are allied with. Auntie and Unk, they are called. And she is played by Divine Joy Randolph from The Holdovers. And Unk is played, and I swear to God this is true, by none other than Method Man. So, it's a movie called Shadow Force. Method Man's in it. Enjoy this clip.
8 years ago, I recruited these two into a unit known as Shadow Force. We did God's dirty work around the globe.
We have a son now. We cannot do this anymore.
Shadow Force came with one ironclad rule. No one leaves.
I saw, praise the Lord, then break the Lord. I'm not gonna live in fear anymore. We are the hunters now.
Then we need help. Auntie and Unc are gunning for Cinder.
We can burn his ass down.
Hell yeah, now I can drink to that.
And that is how you make a movie trailer.
It isn't it, right? The movie is not actually as punchy or entertaining as that trailer would suggest. It's weird. But this is a recurring thing with Joe Carnahan. I don't know why we expect any more from him at this stage. Like, The Grey is the perfect Joe Carnahan movie because he's not really called on to do action. That is more of a thriller, and he is better at a thriller than an action movie. And when he tries to do action thriller, God help us, because he just makes them far too laboured. This does suffer from that, but it is worth noting that every single scene that features Method Man and Divine is priceless. They are hilarious together. Great chemistry. And also, the best writing the screenplay has to offer goes to those two characters. The rest of it is all just a bit too po-faced, a bit too self-serious, and doesn't really have any fun with itself, which, to be fair, it really could do with. Beyond that, it's got the kind of Euro thriller thing down, and when it does lean into the action, it does give good set piece. You know what I mean? It gives good set piece. Has to be said. There's a car chase in this I thought was really good, for instance. And I do like Omar Sy and Kerry Washington as an on-screen pairing. It's just a shame the script really doesn't give them much in the way of chemistry. But when it actually does finally get around to bothering, yeah, it does sizzle, it does work. I like Omar Sy as a screen presence, have since The Intouchables back in about 2016, 2017, I think. But yeah, this is a streaming release, which is kind of where it belongs. I don't think you can really say fairer than that with it.
Nothing groundbreaking, but you would get a decent movie out of it if you were
you'd put this on for us. You'd be like, it's a harmless enough throwaway action thriller for 100 and so many minutes. In fact, is it just over 2 hours? It might be just over 2 hours. No, hour 44. There we are. 104 minutes. Perfect length for this. What's not to love?
Well, if you want to check out Shadow Force, you can because it's on Prime already, so whenever you fancy it. All right, let's talk about Film of the Week. I already know which one you're going to choose, but which is your movie of the week?
I mean, academically, I'm kind of begrudgingly going to have to say How to Train Your Dragon. I mean, the weirdest part is I don't really have many memories of actually sitting there watching it because it did feel I felt like I was watching the same movie. You know, you don't really remember the second time you watch a movie. You know what I mean? It's kind of felt like that. But again, I've got my notes from it, so I know that I sat there all the way through going, yeah, this is just as good as it was last time. Yeah, this is just as good as it was. This is just as good. Pretty much, and it's just a series of quotation marks repeated over and over. Like, it's pretty much that.
It's a shame that it being live action, it didn't add anything to it at all. Like, literally, it's on par with the animated version.
Yeah, I mean, it's on par with, but you know what? The animated one is very good. So, you can't say fairer than that. It's shot for and it got. You know what I mean? You can't really argue with it.
Well, there it is. Movie of the week. How to Train Your Dragon in cinemas from today. Let's have a quick look at next week then. Is there anything big? Of course there is. I know which one you're going to start with.
We've got goodies next week. So next week we've got Hidden, which is a new movie about, I think it might be French, this one. It's called Cachet, I believe, in French, and he's about a couple who are terrorised when videos turn up on their doorstep of their private activities, and they start to get blackmailed by some unknown force. So I'm looking forward to that. I believe that's, is it Juliet Binoche, I think is the star in that one. We've also got The Last Journey, which is I think this might be a Swedish comedy, which is about a sort of father-son duo who go on a road trip to kind of like rekindle their relationship and like go and like explore granddad's past, kind of a thing. So that could be quite charming. We have also, of course, got the new Disney Pixar movie next week, in which, no joke, I think Pixar have based a character on me. You know how, like physically, because you know how Ariel is based on Alyssa Milano when she was a kid? Like it's based on sitcom era Alyssa Milano. And Aladdin is physically based on Tom Cruise in 1993 as well. You couldn't tell by looking at him, really?
I never knew that, no.
That is true, yeah. I don't know if this means that Disney believes that Tom Cruise doesn't have nipples, but... Yeah, Aladdin famously does not have nipples. Anyway, I don't know if that's true of Tom. Actually, no. Having seen Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning and the 6 times he gets naked in it, I can tell you that Tom Cruise definitively has nipples. But yeah, in the same way that Alyssa Milano and Tom Cruise were the basis of Disney characters, I think Pixar stole me for the look of Elio. So
while you're talking, I've got to Google this.
Yeah, you Google Disney Elio, and you tell me that that's not me with an eye patch. But I tell you, he's got the jaw and everything. It's me. But so anyway, I'm seeing.
Oh my god, yeah, it is you.
It's creepy, isn't it? So I'm seeing this on Sunday afternoon. I'm really tempted to go in an eye patch, if I'm honest. Don't hold it up next to me. No, thank you.
It's absolutely you. He just has a worse haircut. That's all.
Thank you. Most people have a worse haircut. Anyway, and of course, Nick Frost in Fighting with My Family is you. So we're 2 for 2 this week, my friend. Anyway, just watch that movie. That movie's good. Last but certainly by no means next week, we've got 28 Years Later, as we've already foreshadowed, which I'm really looking forward to. I'm a big fan of that series. I rewatched Weeks Later recently, actually, to get myself in the right frame of mind. So I'm excited about this one.
I might watch them before Years as well.
I think they're both on Disney Plus now, I believe the first 2.
Good to know. Well, we're going to find out what Van thought to all of those next week on Offscreen. That is, of course, all we have time for this week. We will be back next week. Until then, I've been Adam Ball.
I've been Van Connor. Keep it cinematic and we shall return.